Divorce happens. In fact, it happens to almost 50% of first marriages. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Divorce Happens, a podcast to educate, inspire, support, and yes, make you laugh through divorce and beyond so that you can start fresh on the next phase of your journey. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh.
You get divorced. You get divorced.
Getting divorced?
I'm getting a divorce.
You're getting a divorce.
Because she's getting a divorce.
So what if I get divorced?
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Divorce Happens, the podcast where we support you before, during, and after divorce with education, inspiration, and a little bit of laughter. Because as you know, divorce happens and then you start fresh. We're here today with one of our amazing Fresh Starts experts, Lisa Lisser. Lisa, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hey, Olivia, it's so great to be here. I'm Lisa Lisser. I am a divorce coach. I used to be a lawyer. I was a nonprofit leader. I am a mom to 3 now grown kids. And I'm also a Jewish educator. So I blend all of these experiences, histories, training to help women and men go through the process of divorce with a little more clarity, a little more comfort, and secure in knowing they have a guide on the side. That's my role.
I love that. I always love talking to you. I feel like you drop gems wherever you go. So it's always a blast. So today we're going to talk about something I'm really excited to talk about because I lived this and it was probably one of the hardest experiences, if not of my entire life. So many people don't realize that a very common experience during the divorce journey is cohabitating while you are trying to figure your stuff out, right? So especially in this economy, many people can't afford to live separately. And so Lisa's here today. We're going to talk about some boundaries and how to survive that time. So can you talk to us a little bit, Lisa, about what that time looks like? What is that time we're talking about?
Okay, so the time we're talking about is actually the in-between. This is the in-between time between being a married couple and being 2 separate divorced people. And the thing about in-between is that it could feel very narrow. It could feel very tight. We are full of uncertainty. We don't know what's next. We can't see the future. All we can see is conflict. And how am I going to stay in this space with someone I am in such big conflict with? And that's what makes it so hard. It's wanting certainty while living in uncertainty.
Oh, yeah. And there's so much change that's happening during that time, not to mention trauma and grief and all the other things. I found one of the hardest parts was, and I've never really seen people talk about this, but the transformation of the physicality between the two of you is so confusing. Even I remember, you're so used to putting your hand on your spouse's shoulder or giving them a kiss goodbye in the morning. And it's weird to not do all that stuff.
Yeah.
So how do we survive this time, Lisa? What do we do to get through this?
So what I suggest and what, I lived the same thing that you did, Olivia. We had to stay in the same space. And it's so hard because often it's not just the familiar now feeling unfamiliar. Like we're not going to put a hand on a shoulder or rub past them when we pass in the kitchen. We're going to keep our space. And so what's different and what's the same and how uncomfortable this jacket of in between feels like. And there also could be a lot of anger. There could be a lot of anger, a lot of hurt, a lot of behavior that's not in service of the next chapter. So what I do is I identify 4 boundaries that can help everyone breathe. So I'll just list them. You're going to create physical boundaries, which means a different place to sleep. Parenting boundaries, which is a schedule that the kids can understand. Financial boundaries. How are you going to run the household when you're still living together, but you're starting to separate finances? And then emotional boundaries, because we are no longer relying on that person to be our emotional support. So where do we go? How do we find strength in people around us who maybe we don't want to know all of our business. And those are the four categories that I think are most important.
That I wish I'd had you during that time because it would have made I'm thinking back to, like, the financial stuff, the groceries, it's so I mean, even things like, do I make dinner for them? Do I like, it's so complicated. Okay, so delve into each of those a little bit more. What are some tools we can use to make this time easier?
Okay, so let's start with physical boundaries. We each need our own space. So, who leaves the bedroom? And what if you don't have another bedroom in the house? So, I have had clients ask me if they were allowed to leave, if they were allowed to ask their spouse to leave. So, the answer to those questions is yes. You don't need permission. What you do need to do is find a space that can be divided off as separate and that everyone knows that this is mom's space or this is dad's space. So it could be a bedroom, it could be the family room, it could be a part of the basement. And don't look at this as punishment. This is not punitive, this is agency. Think about this as control. You are creating space for yourself that gives you the freedom to just breathe. You need to exhale. You might need to cry. You might need to scream. You might need privacy to do research. Find the different space. It's possible in almost every home.
Hmm. Yeah. I love that. And even just like the little things like getting dressed and undressed in the morning, like pajamas, like it becomes so awkward, right? Like that's something we don't talk about enough is how awkward divorce is.
Yeah.
I love that, and, like, I definitely resonate with I stayed in the bedroom, and it became, like, my hub, and I had the kids with me in there, and it was my safe space, right? I knew I could lock the door, and I could close off for the night. Um, that's super, super helpful, and really pragmatic, right? You really do need that physical space between the
Mhm.
2 of you. Okay, so keep on going, Lisa.
Okay. So now parenting boundaries. So what does that mean? You're not partners and you're trying to start, well, you're not married partners and you're trying to start getting used to being in a different rhythm when it comes to the kids. And the kids are part of the story. So a lot of people say, well, we never fight in front of the kids. That doesn't mean the kids don't know something's going on. And that doesn't mean that they don't feel the transition and the weight of what is happening in the house. So it's really important to start building a new schedule. Like dad is driving on this day, mom is driving on this day. Divide up the parenting responsibilities, even in an informal way, but with clarity so the kids know what to expect. You want your kids to know who's going to pick up from school, who's making my lunch, who's taking me to soccer practice, who's making my play dates. They need to know. And you need to know too. And when you're offering this new schedule, be sure to elaborate or elaborate that this is for the kids. We need our kids to have at least some place that they can feel secure when their whole life is changing and they didn't have a choice in this decision. So that's
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah, and I think we underestimate how much kids pick up, right? And how much they understand. And you've worked with a lot of people saying, explaining the scripts, right? Like it's okay to say like mom and dad, we're going through some stuff right now and we're gonna be splitting up our time a little bit, but there's always gonna be somebody here with you. And right, like it's okay to be honest at an age appropriate level with them.
Yeah. You don't have to tell them details. In fact, you shouldn't. They
Right,
don't need to know details, but they need to know how come mom's sleeping in a different bedroom.
right.
And you can explain it in a way that's child specific, but and also let them know like what's most important. They need to know they have permission to love both of you. And that is hard because so often in divorce, we want to tell the kids the thing about their parent that troubles us. And even if we feel like we have good intentions to let them know who they're up against, they have the right to not live in that space. And they have the right to a little less weight on their shoulders.
Yeah.
And I share this because I didn't do this well. I know I didn't do this well. My kids are grown-ups. They tell me I didn't do this well because it's hard. But I
Yeah.
also had no guidance on what the impact might be, right? Like no one said, don't badmouth your spouse because they
Right.
were just like, you shouldn't do it because if you do, you're bad. And I'm like,
Right.
wait a second, I don't understand. And I didn't necessarily see it as bad mouthing. I saw it as explaining. But the kids don't need to know everything.
Right.
And that's what's really important.
Yeah, we'll have you come back on for a whole other episode about that because I think that is a really important distinction between protecting, you think you're protecting and explaining something to your kids, but they are not ready for that. Yeah. Okay. So what about financial boundaries, Lisa?
So, financial boundaries. A lot of difficult things happen around money, right? Divorce creates uncertainty, uncertainty creates anxiety, and money magnifies both of those things. So, during divorce, what's most important is to develop a system to pay the household expenses. Who's going to the market? Do we have to change anything? What is our plan? Pay the bills. Make sure that we know who's responsible. If you are the one who regularly paid the bills, you can keep doing that, but you also need to ensure that your spouse is going to put money into the checking account to cover those bills. So these are the elements that let's create a blueprint. What is the money going to look like while we're still in the house? And that could be hard. You could be fighting over it. But again, if you posture yourself in a way that you say, this is really for the kids. We don't want the kids to feel like someone's going to turn off the electricity. We want the kids to know that they are safe. And if we can be calm about money, they can be calm about money. And that's the priority. It's not time for surprises.
Yeah.
So, if you have a big bill coming up, you can tell your spouse. And you have to be on the kind of plane that they put the money in. I had a client who told their spouse, we got to pay the caterer for the bar mitzvah that's happening in 3 days. And she wrote a check and he didn't put the money in. And now the check for the bar mitzvah 2 days later bounced. So we don't want those things to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot. And document, right, as you're going through, because it's always important to know what's happening.
Yeah.
Well, the last one I think is the most important in a lot of ways, right? Because it kind of ties everything together. So how do we keep ourselves emotionally boundaried during this time?
Yeah. So it's hard because we may have been in a space where we thought our partner was our emotional security. And then all of a sudden that blew up. And you want to be able to share with other people, but you don't know who to trust. And each of your family members and all of your friends who know you both as a couple, they have a stake in your story. They may think that your problems are a reflection on them. They may think that they really like your spouse and they're trying to talk you out of it. So there's a lot that goes on and they may be really supportive. Like all of those things can happen at the same time. And they can think that they're being supportive when they're saying negative things. So what's really important is choose carefully who you share with and what you share, but also bring in other people. You can find a support group. You can find a therapist. You can find a coach, people to be your guide on the side, because divorce takes a team.
Yeah.
It really takes a team, and don't feel like you have to do it by yourself, because sometimes we feel that. Sometimes we feel like our our life is our life and I'm supposed to know all the things to take care of my life.
Yeah.
But that puts you in a box. And what we try to do here at Fresh Starts, me and my practice, you and your work, is
Mhm.
open up the box. We got to get outside of the box
Yeah.
and see that things we didn't necessarily expect are actually available to us.
Absolutely. And the strongest, bravest thing you can do is ask for help.
Yes.
right? And we both, Lisa, we talk so much about this and write so much about this that we've been so conditioned, right? To we're so strong, we're independent women, we don't need to ask for help, but this is the time to ask for help because that help is there. And whenever I meet with people who are going through this, I beg them. I say, please reach out to our experts. They want to help you. That's what their passion is, right? And so, if anybody's listening to this, please reach out to Lisa. She wants to help you. Which brings me to my last question, Lisa, which is what do you do with clients? How can people reach out to you?
So I coach clients at all stages of divorce. Primarily, call me first. The coach is your first call because the coach helps you really separate the business of divorce from the emotions and helps you decide who are the people you need on your team. I regularly refer my clients to CDFAs, that's a certified divorce financial analyst. They help you look at your financial situation with an eye toward divorce. It is different than a regular wealth manager or accountant who does your taxes. It's just a different perspective. And so that's part of what I do. I help build the blueprint to start. I help them find the professionals they need, from the CDFA to the mediator to the lawyers to a therapist. I have people in all areas that I work with because we are aligned in how we think divorce needs to shift, right? The
Yeah.
legal system is rough and it doesn't treat families kindly because it looks at you as a case, not people. And my people that I work with are taking care of you because you are human and you deserve that. Um,
Yeah.
and so I help people before mediation and I help them co-parent afterwards. So it's all stages. But really, maybe most important, I offer a complimentary 30-minute consult. And you can find that link right on my website. And I will talk to all of you about all your concerns and we'll see what is the best next step for you. It may mean starting to work together, but it may mean something else. And I will guide you to that as well. Because your situation may require, maybe you do need to call a lawyer first. I
Right.
will never say that that's not important.
Yeah.
Um, but I try to bring my heart and soul into everything I do. And that's why I'm here working with you on Fresh
Yeah.
Starts Registry.
No, you are amazing, and it's such a joy and a treasure for us to have you in our community to know that people are taken care of and loved. Truly, I know you love every single person that you work with, and you want them to succeed and shine. And I'm a huge fan of divorce coaches. We have a whole section in our book about this because they do really help people, before, during, after, really for a lifetime. Because if you have kids or pets with somebody or a house you're not going to get rid of them that quickly. So you need a divorce coach, and they do, not to be surface level, but they do save you a lot of money
Yeah,
overall, which is something I want people to understand. Lisa, all of the links to Lisa and all the good stuff will be in the show notes, so you can reach out to her. I highly, highly recommend doing so. And Lisa has tons of resources and so many great podcasts in her own podcast. So go check her out. And Lisa, we appreciate you so much. This was an incredibly informative and just grounding episode. I think that, sometimes people just get so frenzied in this time, and this will really help them make a plan for what they can do and get through. And part of that getting through is definitely calling Lisa and getting her on your team. So we appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.
Divorce Happens is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the only divorce registry platform for everything you need to begin again, including home items, hype team, and everything in between. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh. We're here to support you before, during, and after divorce. Head to freshstartsregistry.com for more info.